I declare bankruptcy! Hey, troopers and grinders. What's up, man? Can I crash at your place or something? Oh, God. I had to work overnight shifts, man. I had to watch Steve Erceg lose. Fucking sucked. Didn't even get any pay afterwards either. Welcome, guys. Welcome to Brazil, where people go to 5-round decisions that end controversially. They go to 3-round decisions that end in bogus. They have disqualifications and doctor stoppages based on holes in people's legs. And when people get kneed to the head, it doesn't count. That's Brazil for you. Oh, and one more thing. It's a place where the fans, after watching the thing that they wanted to see, immediately clear out of the building so that they can watch a 60-year-old woman dance with the silhouette of Michael Jackson. So that's Brazil for you. I hope they have more cards in the future. My name's Hank the Tank, and to my left is the Idaho debatesman. I'm Hank the gassed out tank, if I'm being honest. The card destroyed me at the very end. For the rest of it, I was actually me and this guy were doing real good. And I think we were in mellow spirits. I mean, this wasn't supposed to be UFC 300. Let's not lie to ourselves. It was supposed to be a glorified fight night. It ended up being a decent pay-per-view, certainly better than UFC 297 and UFC 298. But end result is going to stay with me until the next pay-per-view. So got to swallow that medicine on the first day. Just how's it going, man? What do you think?
Going good. I'm doing all right. You know, the hangover's settling in. So
For you? Yeah, it settled in pretty quickly for you.
yeah. So I'm doing good. Just another day, another dollar. Ready to talk some fights, man.
I'm not ready, but I will proceed to do so.
I've been watching some SpongeBob, so I'm ready.
Well, that's definitely more exciting. And you know, you can't be just ready. You have to be ready and then be ready and then ready, Eddie. You know, that stuff. You got to be like 5 readies. So let's get into this. Wait, hold on 1 second. Oh, okay. I'm ready now. Let's go. Let's cover everything.
So yeah, I second your opinion on the card. It wasn't great, but it was serviceable. Certainly the main card. Yeah. Well, we're gonna talk a little um, about the main event. I'm sure that's what you guys are all here for.
Mm-hmm.
And then
The main event.
we're gonna run through the card, top, bottom to top, and then we're gonna get into a little bit of boxing.
Yeah.
So yeah. So I guess just first things first. How'd you score the main event?
I had it 2-2 going into the 5th round, and
Same.
that's the normal take. At least what people who are saying that it wasn't 4-1 Pantoja are saying that, I think, pretty universally.
Hmm.
So going into the 5th round, I think that was the round that decided the fight. And I was under the impression that damage is valued more than control time under the regulations and rules of the UFC. And so when I saw, not only during the fight, but after the fact, that he was slightly outstriking Alexandre Pantoja and did cut him open. Again, people forget, man, that he got cut in the 3rd round, I believe, Pantoja, and then he got cut again in the 5th round. He landed with an elbow that grazed off the head, and he gave him an additional cut. So not only did he have more significant strikes than Pantoja, but he also got a cut, which is visible damage. I know that it was probably harder to see given that he was already cut, but
Right.
I feel like judges need to look at the replay to see if major strikes do visible damage, because I think that really counts and it often decides fights. So they should have really looked at that 5th round closely. I don't know if the majority of them did, but I think that he had done enough by what was it, like the 4th minute, 5th, like, yeah, 4th or 5th minute of the round. Was that when he got taken down?
Or you shot for that takedown?
Yeah. What minute was that?
Not sure.
I think it was somewhere in the middle of the round.
Hmm.
I think by that point he'd already done well enough damage to win that round, in my opinion. It's sort of like a Sean Strickland Duplessis kind of situation where do you count the cut? Do you not count the cut? Do you count the disparity in strikes before the takedown, or do you not? It can often be a very controversial affair, but I think that it wasn't just more punches, but a visible cut that I think made the difference. And I didn't see enough work from Pantoja on the ground for me to believe that he had outdone all the damage that Erceg had given him. So, in my opinion, I'm sticking with the UFC rule set, and I think that gives Erceg 3 rounds compared to Pantoja's 2. It was not a robbery, as much as people want to say it. I don't think it was a robbery in that not every scorecard was 4-1 for Pantoja.
Yeah, that 4-1 scorecard from Dave Terrell was
but I will
pretty
say
abysmal.
that it was a close fight with the wrong decisions, in my opinion.
Okay. Kiwi, how you doing, my brother? Your guy almost got it done. How did you score the fight? I quickly wanted to bring up something for you.
Mm-hmm.
And this is MMA Decisions. Not sure if you've ever
Oh my God, it's
Sal
D'Amato. Fuck.
Sal D'Amato and Fabio Alves, the Brazilian judge, I'm assuming. Pretty Brazilian name. They scored it 3-2 for Pantoja, Sal D'Amato, and Dave Terrell is the one that scored it 4-1 for Steve Erceg, which I agree, pretty ridiculous. But what I wanted to show you is the media scores.
Oh no.
Sure Dog, best fight picks. The score, another Sure Dog, MMA Uno, never heard of that. MMA Junkie. Oh,
there were a few underneath that had it for Erceg.
Yeah, only 3 of the media scores had it for Steve Erceg, which is
a little bit wild to me, to be honest. I mean, the thing is, we were getting some media that were giving it fucking 5-0 to Pantoja, 4-1 to Pantoja.
Sure.
So, in some cases, I can't really trust what they're saying because the UFC's lining their pockets. But in other cases, I've seen them be more objective. I think if it's not them just giving the champion the edge if it's a close round, I think that.
What's up, Western Mass?
All right, we're the goats. Hey, we're better role models than John Jones is. Also, I'm glad that you didn't attend our stream earlier, Western Mass Climber. What I was doing when I had my head down, it was from lack of sleep. I was just trying to get some rest on the keyboard. Nothing happened. Well, at least, I do coke, but I don't do other things that John Jones does, both in terms of drugs and in terms of action.
Alex, good to see you, brother. My man from the PNW in the house.
I don't think I've seen him here before. Nice to meet you, Alex.
Long-time Rush Hour guy, just a good friend of mine. We're gonna link up when I go over to Northern Washington for sure someday.
Well, it's nice that he's here. So,
but yeah, I agree with you that the fight was close. 4-1's ridiculous, but I just wanted to show you that the media scores were pretty wide for Pantoja.
Yeah.
And I thought, as Kiwi said, I thought that it was really just that takedown
from Erceg
that really just did him in, unfortunately.
I think so. But at the same time, you say it, not me.
What's that?
Well, what was your final conclusion?
At the same time, it's a close fight, and
yeah,
it is what it is,
yeah. I think there were too many swing rounds where Erceg cut him for there not to be one
and certainly, I think your prior prediction of an Erceg domination, and you did have a caveat that you predicted it may be close, but
yeah,
you got some things right for sure, but in the end,
I think it's hard for a lot.
Yeah, and this was the other problem too, is we had a Canelo fight going on literally at the same time. Sorry, that we weren't able to get our full attention on that. But yeah, just this media score is what I really wanted to bring up, because I remember during our heated discussion over Vasily Lomachenko, you said all the media scored it for Loma, and in this instance, that is not the case. An overwhelming majority of the media scored this one for Pantoja as well.
It was not the case, but I think there's now a different subsection of the MMA community that has had it unanimously for Erceg after the fact.
Yeah, the
MMA channels.
weird creeps on the YouTube annals.
Well,
for
yeah,
sure.
but I mean, there's
Hey Amberly, how you doing? Good to
that
see you.
there's also MMA on point as well. Even Chael, who had it,
Oh,
5
geez.
for Pantoja, was like,
Yeah.
"Hey, fighter of the year is Steve Erceg." Even he's admitting, "Oh yeah, it was closer than my stupid ass scorecard had it." I feel like people are sort of, I think people are going back and watching this 5th round like quicker than a lot of other fights. They're looking back on because 12 or 13 hours out after the fact, I'm seeing a bunch of different channels saying, yeah, it wasn't a good decision. Maybe it took people a little longer to recognize the cut that was on Pantoja afterwards. And again, it was a hard cut to sort of find afterwards. I saw people who were reacting to it live during the 5th round, and they said, oh, he's cut. He's cut on the forehead. And saying immediately, okay, that's damage to Erceg. But I feel like some people that were maybe multitasking with the MMA and the boxing might not have been paying attention to that little cut he had on his forehead.
Sure. So yeah, let's get into it. We'll have a little bit more thoughts later on that. But
what pays the bills, Western Mass Climber, it pays the bills. All right. So yeah, I mean, if you want to pay for our electricity, go for it, man. But we got to get it out of the way. Okay.
So
I'm sorry.
First fight of the night was Alessandro Costa versus Kevin Borjas.
Yes.
I thought that Kevin Borjas actually looked a little bit better to start than I initially thought he would. It was certainly somewhat competitive of a first round. And then eventually Costa just kind of gets the back, grinds him out, and pounds him out for a TKO. Any thoughts on this one?
I was surprised just how good of a leg kicker Alessandro Costa ended up being. I thought he was going to dominate using his athleticism and his ability to take people down, but he didn't really need it all that much in this fight because the more he started chewing up Borjas's leg, the more he was on skates and running around like Izzy in the 5th round in the skatesman. And he was just, his leg was out of order. And I think all Alessandro Costa had to do was just keep kicking that leg. And he actually had decent fight IQ and continuing to chop that leg. And then once he had his opportunity, beat him up, took him down, and finished him. So this was way more impressive than I thought his performance would be. I thought this card was going to start on a decision. But good for Costa for getting a performance bonus as the first fight on the card. That's incredible.
Certainly. Yeah, and then as Amberly said, Costa was better than I thought. I totally agree with that because I had picked him to go to decision, and I believe I believe our buddy tanked it as well. So yeah, he certainly did better than we thought, and flyweight, as we saw from Steve Erceg, is kind of wide open. So you get a few wins at flyweight in a row, especially finishes, you'll get a good fight. You'll get a top fight. So he moves on and he looks good.
I hope he gets I hope he gets to jump up the rankings. He's been looking really good and has been consistently winning his fights against opponents who are outside the top 15. So give him a shot, in my opinion. It's funny how, like, with certain weight divisions, you've got guys who are just gatekeepers 24/7, like Dan Ige against every single featherweight prospect. People are like, oh yeah, put Brito against Ige, even though he just won like his last 2 fights against guys who are outside the rankings. Just keep him a gatekeeper forever. It's unfortunate that some guys take little damage and always end up having that position. But hopefully someone does the deal for Costa and gives him his chance. I hope so.
Yeah, certainly he can move up. What's interesting about this card is 11 favorites and 2 dogs won. And I think this was certainly like the easiest card I've ever picked personally.
Me too.
4 TKOs, 2 subs, and 7 decisions for a litany of lightweight, featherweight, and flyweight fights.
Yeah, we got a decision merchant on our hands.
Is a big surprise to me, honestly. I really thought there would be more decisions, and you'll see that, or more finishes, and you'll see that from my picks,
including our second fight that we have on the card.
That's interesting, Denial. Good to see you, by the way.
Oh, really?
So Turkey Al-Sheikh must have announced that
Wait,
Fury versus AJ will happen if Fury gets through Usyk, which I have my doubts about because I believe there's a rematch clause.
Oh,
so
boy.
we're gonna have to verify that a little bit, but certainly thank you for that news.
Yeah, they're literally about to box themselves into a corner, which is a shame.
Yeah, I mean that would be awesome. That's the fight we want to see. That fight certainly does more numbers than Usyk, but Usyk's a good boxer. I wouldn't count him out. So
it is a good fight for people who are in the know, though. So it'll be enjoyable for us.
So we'll definitely preview that one when it comes up. But next fight on the card, Ishmael Bonfim. He gets a decision win over Vince Pichel. I thought that though Ishmael did hurt Vince Pichel, he kind of underperformed.
I think so too.
Didn't get the finish that we thought he would get.
They clearly wanted him to get a first round finish.
And
they wanted
that's
McKinney.
And I had him getting the knockout. This was one of the ones because I always pick third round decision finish when I think there's going to be a finish, which I might have to stop doing. This is one where I was like, cool, he's going to get it in the third round because he did hurt Vince late in the fight. But for as much as we can criticize Ishmael's performance, I think we can give some credit, not a lot, but some credit to Vince for hanging in there. I thought he fought okay. He took his defense was a little more on point than I thought it would be. What's up, CST? Good to see you, brother.
He took the Sean Strickland iCarly approach to defense.
Yep. The cocksucker defense, as Dan Hardy likes to call it. What's your breakdown on the fight?
My breakdown is that there were multiple points where Bonfim had him wobbled, and I'm wondering how much of him not getting the finish was just the sheer grit of Pichel, and how much of it was the coaches telling Bonfim before the fight during training camp, hey man, if you rock somebody, don't just go wild and get in his face and risk getting knocked out yourself. Look what happened against Bonfim. You were aggressive. He took you down. You were in trouble. We need to get a bounce back win, Bonfim, in order to get a better matchup. When you rock him, don't get too impatient and wait for your time and get the shot. I feel like he had more methodical approach. I actually think he had a little bit more maturity in terms of just hurting him and making sure that he won the round. Some fighters do that more than others. I think during the second round, there was especially a moment where he was trying to get a finish and big head kick.
That's when he had wobbled him.
Yeah. But I just think his arms are a little short and his legs are a little short. He sort of looks like Volkanovski a little bit in terms of his build. And I don't know if that style is going to get too many knockouts that aren't him jumping and hitting somebody with a knee. I think Vince Pichel has a rock hard skull and he's tough as hell. And I think after Bonfim missed weight in their last fight that was supposed to happen, I think Vink came in here with a purpose. I think he didn't want to get knocked out and highlight real style by Bonfim. He wanted to make it a fight. So I think that's what made this fight so not close, but so hard for Bonfim to finish. I think it was a multitude of reasons.
Yeah,
so I don't entirely blame anybody for this.
Didn't he get finished in his last fight, Bonfim?
He got finished by Benoit Saint Denis.
Yeah, and maybe that made him a little more gun shy. The UFC certainly gave him a layup here, but to me, like the biggest thing, in the aftermath of this fight is lightweight's so stacked, man. It's gonna be hard to get away with a performance like that one. Now he's a young kid; he's gonna improve, but I don't know where he goes from here. Fighting Benoit Saint Denis and then fighting Vince Pichel is kind of a strange career trajectory after he was so hot. Him and his brother were so hot coming into the UFC. But yeah, certainly excited to see what he does next. And
Yeah, I mean, at least we get some hype back on the Bonfim brothers. Not
yeah,
not a whole lot of hype, but
who
they're
would you like to
still
see him fight next?
shoot. Who would I want him to fight next? I wouldn't want him to be against anybody too scary in the
Hmm.
division. Maybe Victor Henry or someone where it's a close fight. We'll see
I
how he
think
does with.
I thought that this was a 55 match, and Victor Henry's a bantamweight.
Okay. Well, who are some other lightweights that are just below? Because somebody else had Matt Frivola against another opponent on
Mm,
this card, but it wasn't Bonfim.
yeah, I think like maybe give him like Ferez,
Mm-hmm.
ZM,
Okay.
um, or maybe I think I was thinking like as the fight happened, I was like maybe Drew Dober, but that's
That'd
probably
be
too
fun.
high. That's probably too high up in the rankings.
I think Dober would knock him the hell out,
But
and
that's what I'm saying is he would force him into a dogfight,
that's
force him
true.
to show all his skills and see where he's really at. So
Yeah, but I don't think he's big enough to score a finish on Drew Dober, and
right,
I don't
yeah,
think
and
he has
you
the
might be
power.
on the money there. He might be a little undersized for lightweight, just physicality wise.
Like he could. Well, you actually, I'm going to take back that statement that he could make featherweight because he can't even make lightweight.
Right, he
So
did miss weight at lightweight.
it's
You're right.
strange that for that build he can't make lightweight. Maybe that's just a lack of regimen. So I guess he won't be unless he pulls a Charles Oliveira and like looks himself in the mirror and asks himself, "What the hell am I doing?"
Eh,
Uh, I doubt that
maybe he
he's.
needs to go on a reality show in Mexico,
Yeah,
like
exactly.
Masvidal.
Yeah,
We,
nice.
we move up the card. Dione Barbosa versus Ernesta Caracate. I'm gonna let Tank take the reins to start off on this one.
Yeah, people are calling Erceg versus Pantoja a robbery. That ain't the robbery on the card. Hold on, let me move this upwards. This right here is the robbery of the card. Barbosa had Ernesta's back. She almost submitted her. She looked fantastic in the first round and was just dominating her in every aspect. She was even piecing her up on the feet as a kickboxer. She looked
Took the
fantastic.
back.
The first half of the fight could not get the rear naked choke. She got the backpack, but not the choke. And I think she started to gas a little bit. And Ernesta was starting to piece her up and get her on her back from some failed scrambles. And it just looked like Ernesta was starting to put the pieces together and think to herself, yes, now I can get another split decision victory. Oh, this is great. My reputation is maintained. I can still be a split decision merchant. Yes. Unfortunately, they were in Brazil at the time, and the Brazilians got to back their girl. Dion Barbosa did not win round 3 whatsoever. I don't know how anybody could think that Barbosa won round 3. She hardly got any shots off. Ernesta was kicking her ass, pillar to post, all 5 rounds. And
Five
that is,
rounds.
yeah, no, I mean 3 rounds. Sorry, it's a Freudian slip. I'm getting to the other one. All 3 rounds, especially in the third round. Ernesta looked at her best in the third round
Yeah.
after she already won the second round. Which this is just absolutely ridiculous and blatant bias towards the Brazilian fighter. I'm not gonna call it anything else because anyone with a pair of working eyeballs would see that somebody from Europe had 2 rounds over the Brazilian. So this is the robbery of the card. The main event is not the robbery of the card. This is blatant robbery based on where they are at. So
So
I do not trust.
Amberly says she has it had it 2-1 Barbosa.
Yeah, no.
I think definitely Dione won the first round. Ernesta clearly won the third. I got to be honest, I was pretty tuned out on this fight. I think the Vito Melnicki fight had just started at this point, which is actually insane that it took. What was it? What was the promotion? Was it Golden Boy and fucking PVC?
I think. Well, yeah.
Yeah, it took them that long to get to the Canelo fight, which ended during the Aldo fight. Actually, I think it ended just before the main event of the UFC started.
Yeah.
So I'm
I
not
was
really
paying attention
sure
to
who
you.
won the second, but I think it was pretty clear that Dione was pretty cooked. And
Mhm.
I think I probably got a little bit of a gift, here, but certainly a
But
unanimous decision for Barboza is probably the wrong score.
I don't. Yeah, at the very least, that should have been a split. The fact that
Sure.
it wasn't makes it absolutely clear to me that that was a robbery. So that's unfortunate, and the pattern is going to continue as we move up the card. Not our next fight, but soon, far into the future.
Our next fight, Mauricio Ruffy, or is it Huffy because he's Brazilian?
Got a new fight nerd on our hands.
It
They
might
just
be Huffy.
yeah, Huffy. Well, he should
Um,
change it to Ruffy to be like his boy Gene
Referee.
Silva and be like
He knocks out Malarkey in the first round viciously.
brutal.
4 minutes and 42 seconds into the fight. Yeah, wow. I mean, this guy, he basically just melted Malarkey. Malarkey, give credit to him because he's a dog. He's there
Yes.
to kill or be killed.
Yeah.
He fought valiantly until he got absolutely melted. He got beat up, cut, um,
The whole 9
and then he
yards.
got just obliterated by that flying knee and some follow up punches. Not much to say. I mean, I don't know. Is it? It might be Huffy because he's Brazilian, but
Probably Huffy. Yeah.
the guy looked great.
Shout
Compared,
out.
I think DC on the broadcast compared him to Conor McGregor, which is totally insane.
Kill me. He
But
only looks like it in terms of physique, nothing else really.
right. But yeah, I mean, he looked amazing. I did not have the round correctly. In hindsight, I probably should have picked the first round.
Hmm.
But yeah, interested to see what Ruffy does from here. And as far as Malarkey goes, Tank was saying he should be cut from the promotion with a loss here, and I totally disagreed with him on our preview and prediction show. And now I'm kind of siding that way because
Yeah.
I mean, he's just clearly not UFC level.
No. And the thing about it also is that the decisions that he won, the times that he won in his last 5
Michael
fights,
Johnson, yeah.
yeah, they were by sort of split decision with
Hmm.
him just doing enough.
Mm.
Like he's not going to be a dog who's finishing folks.
Thank you,
He
Kiwi. It
fights.
was Dean Thomas, which is surprising because he usually has great analysis. And I mean, I guess as far as the crisp striking and the beard and the hair, maybe. But
Yeah,
other than
everybody
that, it's
has
like Conor McGregor. I mean, let's slow down a little bit here, guys.
I mean, look at those tattoos, Idaho. They're beautiful. They look like Notorious to me. He's doing the Vinnie Mac dance. I mean, my God. I called this fight perfectly. I thought he was
Congrats.
no problem. I'm not going to completely gloat about it. I'm just saying that I did get KO in the first round because I thought that Malarkey, if he's going to get knocked out by Nasrat Hakparast, who always goes to decisions with people and big back and forth fights, and he's cracking Malarkey's chin, I got to suspect that chin a little bit. And wouldn't you know, a guy with power coming off the Contender Series victory, he's super young and has great technique. He's going to hit Malarkey in all sorts of ways at every angle, and eventually Malarkey's chin is just not going to take it anymore. It broke. It broke at this point. So it's unfortunate.
Holy shit!
Wow.
That's insane. I love that. I love you, Kiwi. Shout
Get
out
him,
to you, man.
get him on TMZ.
Yeah, right. Holy shit!
Wow. I no wonder. I think
I wasn't ready for that. I wasn't ready for that comment.
I think McGregor is going to adopt for the first time ever. He's going to adopt.
Oh my gosh!
His little
Wow!
nephew.
Wow!
Incredible work from the Kiwi. Keep it up,
Holy
bud.
shit!
Keep demonetizing our channel. Keep it up.
Don't worry, no one watches this.
So basically, I just thought that Malarkey's washed at this point, and a guy who has that much power and that much great striking on the feet was eventually going to put him away, and that's what he did. And it's a shame for Malarkey. I'd suggest that he go to Karate Combat and win a championship in that company. I think that's his only way that he's going to bounce back. I mean, Sam Alvey can do it. If Sam Alvey, anybody can.
The only saving grace for him is he's always in good, like, exciting fights. So maybe they'll keep him around. But yeah, I don't see a future in the lightweight division for Mr. Malarkey.
Yeah, give him mercy.
I mean,
give him mercy.
and is it his chin? Is it his lack of defense? Is it all of it?
It could be all of it.
Yeah. We move up the card. We got Jakar Close winning a decision against Joaquim Silva.
He's lucky he did.
I had picked this fight to end in knockout.
I did too. We had the exact same pick.
Yeah, and I thought that though Joaquim Silva looked better than I thought he would,
Yeah.
I think Close is like slowly and silently building up his resume. Doesn't have a great win on his resume, but I believe this moves him to 9-2 in the UFC, which is impressive
I
as
think
hell.
so, yeah.
That's super impressive, man. So he deserves a top fighter now.
Mhm.
Couldn't get the knockout against Joaquim,
Oh, he's
and
15 and 2
I think we underrated. Yeah, I think it's 9-2 in the UFC though.
in the UFC, but in his general record.
But I think Joaquim Silva, we underrated him for sure.
Yeah.
But Jakar Close is coming, man. He's still a young cat, and he had that knockout loss to Benny Dariush, and I believe he called him out in the post-fight interview.
Mhm.
Which to me, like
I
I'm
doubt
a
it.
big fan. I'm a big fan of Beneil, and I don't think that he's going to be coming back anytime soon. So
No.
yeah, give Close a top lightweight, give him a dangerous lightweight, and that it'll be fireworks, man. It'll be a good fight. I think
I
Close is
hope so.
getting better and better every fight.
Well, here's where I come into a little bit of a disagreement here. I think Close made it too close.
Mm,
He let it be
pun intended.
too much of his trademark, obviously unintentionally. Although there were some moments where it was a little intentional. Like in the first and second rounds, there was moments where he was really trying to pick his shots and really be careful not to have Joaquim Silva pull an Israel Adesanya and
Mm,
counterpunch him to death. But at the same time, he left his chin up in the air at a bunch of points, and he was just like standing around, and then body shot, and then right hand, and that was working for him in the first couple rounds. But eventually, he just kept letting Silva be there with him in the pocket, like Benoit Saint Denis did with Dustin the Diamond Poirier, and Silva decided not to shoot for any guillotines and instead trade with him, and he knocked Close down, and then he almost finished him. He
yep.
came pretty close, like ground and pound, like he was in the position with his like head down, like laying in a prone position where if it were a worse referee, he could have stopped that fight. But luckily enough, Close got out of it. He survived. He got back up to the feet, but he should not have kept it this close. And I feel like he should have had a little bit more killer instinct in the
Mm,
first couple rounds because he allowed it to come down to the wire. And for
mm,
Close, the thing I didn't take into account with Joaquim Silva was USADA shutting its doors because this man is
mm.
freaking ripped. Uh,
Super
he,
shredded.
he he does not skip leg day, abs day, neck day, or arms day.
Text day.
This dude is the real Joaquim the Tank. I'm sorry that I have this name. I should give it to him because that I don't think
Wow.
there's an ounce of fat in his freaking body. And now, if he hits you, there's a reason why I think he cracked Armin. Look at those freaking guns, dude.
Yeah.
Like take the train. Take a look at this bicep. Joaquim the Train in the UFC. His mom ain't raised no bitch. And when he cracked Close, like I wasn't surprised. The guy has bricks for arms, for hands everywhere. So I think Close should have probably at some points maybe shot the takedown, maybe hit him with more combinations, try to put him away because he let it get too close to the bell. And you don't do that with this kind of Vitor Belfort kind of roid freak character. And I think that Close is going to be a great prospect going into the future. He had one
Yeah.
loss, Neil Dariush, in which he was beating Beneil up. But I want Close to stop making it so close and develop more of a killer instinct. And when he sees someone's hurt, he goes for the kill. That's my advice to him. But he's still really good.
Yeah, for sure. I want to address this comment from Western Mass. What do you think? Early predictions on Poirier versus Islam.
I
'Cause
wish
I have a
I
lot to say
wish that
about it.
I wish that it was a Poirier guillotine, but unfortunately, like a certain commentator that I follow, when it gets to the high levels, uh, good wrestlers do not tap to guillotines, even if it's locked in. We saw this with Charles against Armin. You find your ability to scoot the hips, scoot the neck within the guillotine, and then most of these guys who are big strikers and great on the ground, these Dagestanis, they just know how to endure the pain and pop that head right out. So even if Poirier had the tightest guillotine of the century, I don't think that he would tap Islam, unfortunately. It would make
unless
for
it was like quickly in the first round. But
yeah,
I've
unless Islam literally pushed him up against the fence and then he had the guillotine position and then he lifted him up and slammed him down.
yeah,
Yeah,
certainly like somebody on the card. But
I
I'll
don't
just
know.
say I think that they should maybe tie one of Islam's hands behind his back, maybe a blindfold Islam, or maybe you have like a guy shining a light. You know, I'm sure they can have somebody from the rafters, like
Yeah, get out the laser pointer.
yeah, and just
Green
shine it in
face.
his eyes the whole fight.
Yeah,
And then you'll see Dustin get a win, I think.
or in the middle of the fight, you hear the announcers going, "We're sorry to inform you that Islam's father has passed away
Right.
at this hour."
Oh my
And
god, that's brutal.
my God, my mother needs me, mommy,
Yeah,
mommy, I'm coming, I'm
or
coming.
you just have him start out down 3 rounds,
Mm-hmm.
something
Yeah,
like that. Then
yeah,
he'll get a
exactly.
win.
Take the point
But
away.
yeah, we move on to a fight I I wouldn't say I was horribly wrong, but my prediction was. But I did think that Elvis Brenner would do a little better.
Mm-hmm.
Miktabek Oralby defeats Elvis Brenner via decision. There wasn't really a moment that Elvis had in this fight. He did jump some guillotines,
No.
and you know, he did get hurt by Oralby a few times. But I think really what did him in, and I think that he had a terrible weight cut that was documented.
Did.
But you could really see that his everything he was throwing, man, was so slow and belabored. I thought he looked really bad, like just in the striking. But again, he hung in there. He fought good. He never, you know, strayed away from the fight itself. Um, but yeah, I don't think that the weight cut would have, even if he had a fantastic weight cut, I don't think he would have won this fight because
Mm-mm.
you know, Oralby, he looks good, man, and I don't think he'll be like a champ or a top fiver, but he certainly has the skills, man, and I think he'll just get better. He'll just continue
I
to
think so.
improve.
Yeah. So my opinion was that oral buy, again, like I said before, there's LFA oral buy and there's UFC oral buy. And I thought maybe over time, more of the oral by the striker would come out as he continued to have more fights, jumping up the rankings. And that unfortunately, he was able to keep Medic down for 2 rounds and beat him up and completely counter his striking game and eventually tap him. And this happened just like the Medic fight, where we got this great hyped up prospect with really beautiful striking and flashy stuff. And eventually he meets his match and someone who just has the grip strength. And not only that, but has decent striking when he needs it. And
Yeah.
we saw that in pretty much every round of this fight. Before
Mm.
he took Brenner down, he rocked him. He rocked him
Yes.
with the right hand. And honestly, if he wasn't a Dagestani coward, not
He's not
Dagestan,
from Dagestan yet.
he's
He's
not Dagestani, but he was in the school of crotch sniffing. He instead of finishing him on the feet was like, okay, now's my chance. He won't expect this, and I'll take
sure.
him down. Aldo did that later on, as we'll get to. He took him down, and he just dominated him the first round. But then I think by the second and third round, like that's the best thing you can say about Brenner is that he got out of being on bottom and actually
Yeah.
scrambled his way up to the top and had good jujitsu enough to threaten certain submissions, and then get on his back at one point. And I didn't expect Brenner to even do that. I expected this to go out like him just being on bottom the first and second rounds and like moments on the feet where Brenner's doing well, but it was opposite day, and I didn't know that it was opposite day. He was pretty crap on the feet, Brenner, I think. And then once things got into the wrestling aspect, that's when he started to shine.
Hmm.
And that's unfortunate. I think that Brenner will obviously improve if they put him against
Yeah.
a fellow striker, and we'll get to see more of that great offensive work that he does on the feet. But on the ground is where he shined, and I think that's sort of a miracle. Uh,
Yeah,
I
and
expected him
people.
to get a submission, and he didn't. And I think
Yeah.
things got actually surprisingly close. By the way,
True.
no need for them to take a point, in my opinion.
Oh
No
yeah,
need.
yeah, yeah, yeah. They did take a point.
Ridiculous. He
I
just
mean,
touched
look.
a little.
I don't. I think if you commit a foul, you should have a point taken immediately. That's just my opinion. I did think it was strange maybe. I mean, I'm sure people are gonna have opinions all over the place on that.
I mean,
But
if they
I
have
thought it
the
I thought it was strange that they took it like without saying anything to him, or even
no,
I
they
they
always
just
stop
were
it.
like
They
point.
always stop it. Yeah, they're
Yeah,
always like, "Hey,
exactly.
time." Okay, I'm
Yes.
taking a point. Let's get back into position and
But
now
but
start.
what I was gonna say is I think that just as much as Elvis Brenner looked completely gassed by the second and third, so did Orlby in the third round. I thought
He did.
Orlby looked pretty gassed himself.
Yeah,
Um,
they're both walking corpses by the end of it. They
yeah, and it
and
just wasn't a good look. I think maybe in the future against a better opponent, Orlby will be Fade City, and I'll get my pick correct. But right now, man, he had a good win, and credit to him.
and good for him. And again, I am so impressed that he was able to get that last knockdown in the
Yeah,
final 5 seconds because he knew that they'd taken a point away from him, and I needed to do something to show them that he clearly won the round, and he dropped him. And so I hope that we see more of that Orlby in the future. I think if he continues to do more striking and have confidence that he'll put his opponents away like he used to in LFA, that I think he'd actually get some more fans if he was able to have a better combination of both, sort of like Armin. But unfortunately, he's just dedicated to the Mokaev approach, and I don't think that's going to get him a lot of fans. He's no Shavkat. He could be a Shavkat, but I think he refuses to be a Shavkat.
he's not
So
wearing the right hat. That's pretty
exactly,
much what lost
yeah,
him the
he's got a
Shavkatness.
he's got a yee ass hat, so he needs
Yeah.
to replace that with something
Shout
more.
out to Jay Sharp, by the way, my good homie from Brooklyn. Thank you for joining us. I know it's a little late where you're at, but yeah, we move up the card. Yasmin Lucindo defeats Karolina Kovalevich via decision. I thought that. Interesting tidbit. This is the widest discrepancy in age in a women's UFC fight that there has ever been.
Wow.
I think Yasmin Lucindo is 23 and Carolina is like 37, 38. So yeah, huge discrepancy in age. And I thought that Lucindo would be able to get a sub, but Carolina kind of fought to not get finished, I think. Didn't really have a lot of moments at all. And Yasmin just kind of grinded her out to get a boring decision. Again, I wasn't super tuned into this fight, but I guess the odds makers correctly thought that Yasmin would grind her out, and I also think that as Amberly says, I thought that Carolina in this fight in particular was the first fight where like she looked pretty old, And
Mhm.
again, she's not old in terms of regular people, but in MMA, man, 38, and especially at strawweight,
She's got a
or
surprisingly
37, 38.
she's got a surprisingly young face for someone who's 37 or 38 years old.
It was the skin though. The skin looked like, maybe from the weight cuts, just kind of looked. I was like, man, Carolina is showing her age at this point, and she certainly fought like it.
Yeah. I think that I was really impressed with Lucindo in the striking. Like I thought she was just gonna take the Barbosa approach and take her down and sub her, but that is not what she did over 3 rounds. She just had the timing on the former kickboxer and was just piecing her up on the feet. Now it wasn't the most aesthetic style of striking, but it was getting it done. And she like far outpaced her in terms of the striking. If you
Yeah,
look at like significant strikes, and poor Carolina was just getting beaten up, and she looked like she was just getting bullied in there, unfortunately. But I'm just impressed that the Brazilian was able to do so much consistent work on the feet and prove me wrong that she needed her grappling to win. She did not need her grappling. And that showed because she didn't even take her down at any point, I'm pretty sure.
mm.
I think this just stayed on the feet and she just kicked her ass. So
And yes, to
bravo.
answer your question, Jay Sharp, I was counting rings, so maybe that's my fault.
Yeah, so I'm just impressed with Lucindo. I'm glad that I got this pick right, but I did not expect the decision to come from 15 minutes of action.
Yeah,
So I'm glad that we got at least a little bit of a scrap, even if the Brazilian crowd didn't enjoy it. I don't care what the Brazilian crowd thinks. So if they think the sky is blue, I'm calling it freaking purple. Okay, so screw them.
sure.
Next,
We move up the card. Joe Anderson Brito gets a KO TKO due to a cut on the shin of Jack Shore. I thought that Brito won the first round handily. He's just more physical. bigger than Jack Shore. I think our pre-fight analysis kind of was dead on the money on this one.
Mm-hmm.
And Shore just never really got going, and he ends up um, they end up stopping the fight due to that cut. I think maybe it was intentional. Maybe Brito kept his talons a little long. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
like
The
Napoleon
vulture that he
Dynamite,
is.
like Napoleon Dynamite when he was working in that chicken farm. I
Gosh,
thought that
I want to go down. God.
I thought that this would go to decision. I was wrong, which sucks because I picked so many other fights to go to finish, not this one. But I guess it's hard to say exactly what would have happened because it looked like Jack Shore had gotten shot in the shin, and
Mhm.
the cut was pretty massive, and it was like a giant hole in his leg that was bleeding pretty bad. A lot of people were pretty
Mm.
upset that the fight got stopped. I certainly didn't think it was grounds to stop a fight. I guess
Which is weird.
as the main card started, you had John Anik on the broadcast saying, "Oh, the ringside physicians stopped the fight because they thought that maybe Shore had broken his leg or that it would get infected." But overall, Joe Anderson moves on. He looks pretty good. Jack Shore unfortunately gets a loss. I don't think he's happy with this one. But one thing you can say that's positive about it is both men went out pretty without taking a lot of damage. It wasn't like a war or
Yeah.
anything. So they'll get a fight. They'll get a fight booked, and I'm interested to see what both of these men do. And I think Joe
I don't know,
Anderson's
man.
coming on, and Jack Shore will have his chance to redeem himself.
I don't think that Jack Shore is going to be able to walk again. That was just a bad injury. I just feel like that cut's gonna end his career for good. I think he needs to go out and into the shore and just let him slip. Let him slip into the ocean, man, because there's nothing he can do. I voted for Brito, and I wanted him to take his head off, but instead it got stopped by a freaking Dr. Goober. Gosh, I freaking hate MMA. There's nothing else to do on a Saturday except eat some waffles and have to deal with my stupid
Some
kid
tots.
brother. My thoughts were
No, I
that,
said some tots.
oh yeah, I need to get some tots with some nacho cheese on top and wait for my old man to come back so he can argue with me some more. God, let me do it.
My favorite part of that movie was when they were trying to use a time machine,
Mhm.
and it ended up just shocking his nuts. Um,
Nice.
Also, when what's his name's girlfriend shows up, and she's like this very attractive, voluptuous African American lady. That was hilarious.
Mhm. Nice.
Funny bit of trivia: that movie was actually filmed here in Idaho, in a place
Yes.
called Preston. Um, Pretty fucking far away. Nothing going on in that town,
Yeah.
but yeah.
I mean, it looked like it was shot in the heart of America. So it seemed very rural and like, oh, there's the dirt road in the house with the
I love
porch
how
now.
you pronounce that word because I cannot say that word to save my life.
Which one?
The one that you said.
I said
It
like
starts with a
14
R.
road?
Yes, road. No,
Rural, rural,
rural.
rural. Oh my
Rural.
god, dude, we're gonna
Yeah, how
go
dare
through
you make me say that?
we're gonna go through the Nina drama Alex Pereira trying to pronounce the word squirrel. Rural,
I didn't watch that.
squirrel, squirrel. Apparently, it's the kryptonite of any Brazilian to say the word squirrel.
Well,
But now we know that yours is pearl.
rural is my kryptonite. But
Yeah.
yeah, give us your thoughts on this fight.
Um, I think that Brito didn't impress me as much as I wanted him to impress me. He didn't get him down. He didn't go
Didn't
for
have a chance, really.
seven.
I feel like, but
Yeah, they went back and forth. Brito obviously got the better of him on the feet. He might have done better by the third round. I think he got a third round knockout, which was his last finish on the feet. But he might have gone to a finish. He might not have. I feel like this was going to be sort of a boring affair if they didn't stop that fight.
mm,
Shore did not look as good. Shore just could not find a shot for the takedowns. Brito stuffed almost all of them. So good for him for having good takedown defense. But Brito, I think, could have done better in terms of the power.
mm.
He showed it in places, but maybe in his next fight he'll be able to really show his stuff. he didn't get the chance to because they were in Brazil, and so the other guy has an injury that's so weird. Now they got to bring the doctor in, like it's Magomed Ankalaev versus Johnny Walker, and nope, he can't recover. Let's give it to our guy. He's gone. He's gone.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting that they didn't even seem to be like, "Hey, sure, are you okay? How about you walk a little bit? Show me you can walk
I think he
still."
said that he was able to walk. I think he told them, "I'm fine. I can
And they're
walk."
just like,
Believe
"Nah,
him.
nah."
I'm sorry, I know speak English, brother. That's my second language. I don't know. And so they
Is
ended
that a
it.
Brazilian accent?
And yeah,
Okay.
it's you cannot compete, and so I stopped the fight, my brother. You will make money. You a dumb motherfucker. I know that Amberly's gonna love that. Hey, what's up, motherfucker?
Yeah, it's kind of like when they asked Johnny Walker, "Where are you?" and he says the desert, and they go, "Oh, nope, nope."
This is not the desert. This is freaking steaks and beer in Brazil. You stupid MF. There's nothing but rainforest, my brother.
I'm in the jungle. Yeah.
Take a walk, my brother.
Where are you? The jungle.
I feel like this was not a good reason to stop the fight, and they did so because they'll find any opportunity to stop the fight in favor of their guy. They will call cage grabs when it's unnecessary, and when it's close, they'll give it. When the rounds are close, they'll give it to their guy. So that much better. Absolutely,
that's fucking awesome, Jish.
Yeah, she's got to practice her American accent.
Oh my gosh,
the Brazil,
that's fucking hilarious.
Yeah, who? So yeah, a disappointing fight in terms of the result.
Yeah,
it was an
all
okay
around.
Yeah, but hey, at least I got him by round 2.
Yeah, so good on you.
Department.
We then go to Caio Borralho. Borralho.
I think it's Borralho. I've seen them call him Borralho.
Caio, the fight nerd, defeats Paul Craig via pretty brutal KO in the second round. Paul Craig never had a moment in this fight. You can't convince me that he did. And Caio just kind of took his time. Paul Craig does this thing that I like to call, and it's kind of become an ongoing joke. Have you ever seen Futurama?
I have. I've seen Futurama. That's for sure.
He goes to this giant brain in one
nice
episode, and they give him a Scooty Puff Jr. To escape the giant brain, and it's like a future motorized scooter.
I see.
He ends up, going back in time, and he's like, "Listen, guys, you can't give me the Scooty Puff Jr. You got to give me the Scooty Puff Senior, right?" So, long-winded way of telling you, Paul Craig does this thing I like to call Scooty Puff Junioring, where when he gets knocked down, he tends to scoot on his butt and try to bait you into the submission. And Caio quickly, when Paul Craig would try to do that, he would just stand right up and just say, "Nope, we're not playing that game."
So that's sort of like how Aljo scooted his way into illegal knees.
I'm not sure.
I think he was more on his legs than he was on his hips.
Well, it's kind of like the Charles Oliveira, the fucking Damian Maia, Paul Craig, scooting your butt. But a lot of people criticize Caio for not getting it done faster. I think that he looked great and he took his time, man. And I think that was a good decision. I mean, I don't know. I think that either way, he took his time. He looked good.
Yeah,
gets a knockout, and he moves to
round 3. So Idaho's impressed that it wasn't in round 3.
Yeah, he looked good, and he's 6-0, I believe, in the UFC now. So give him a top guy.
I think so
yeah,
too.
We'll make some picks on who we should fight next after Tank breaks down the fight a little bit.
Okay, so I think that Borralho looked good. I will admit that I was getting dinner during this fight, but I was looking at it in glances. From what I saw, Borralho mostly kept things on the feet and was just picking his shots really well. And Paul Craig has very bad technique in the stand-up. He just keeps his chin wide open. Didn't look like he was posing any sort of threat to Borralho. he took his time, as he said, and then he found the perfect shot with the overhand and just kept on going and got a finish in Brazil, which is what he wanted, which is what he was talking about in interviews that he wanted to do. So he did what he wanted. He said he would do, and I got to give him credit for that. And I think that Cal Baralho is a consummate professional. I think he's going to have a career beyond just being a fighter in the UFC.
I think he already does commentary, right? For
he does commentary
cards
for LFA. Yeah, I think he has the personality, and I listened to his post-fight interview, and it was great. He got the Brazilian crowd hyped up, spoke great, and delivered, and basically made everybody excited to see his next fight. So basically did a Mike Mallet in Canada. So I love this kid. I can't wait to see what he does in the future. I love the fight nerd gimmick and that all his teammates do it. So, I mean, what's not to like about this guy?
Yeah.
Like, it's hard.
Yeah. The only thing I don't like about him is his very aggressive neck tattoo. But
yes,
he calls out Jared Cannonier, as he likes to put it, at the end of the fight, who is actually rumored to be fighting Marvin Vettori, I think, for the main event of UFC Louisville. That's a good fight, but I mean, it's a tough way to matchmaking for him is tough at this point, because I feel like you should get a top 5 guy, or maybe at the very least a top 10 guy, somebody who can take some strikes and
I think
grapple with him.
I think it's between Imavov and Vettori.
Sorry, that's who Jared Cannonier is rumored to be fighting at the main event of USC Louisville is Imavov.
Imavov. So then give him Vettori. Give him Vettori.
I think Vettori deserves somebody higher level, higher ranked than Kaio at this point. But with all the pulling out of fights and getting injured, I can see the UFC making that fight.
You got to keep up the movement of the rankings.
Huh?
You got to keep up the movement of the rankings. Have it keep moving along and trying to get some new guys in there.
Yeah, I agree. I just, I don't think Marvin should. I would understand if he didn't take that fight. But yeah, that's certainly a good fight. Cannonier, if they don't end up making that fight against Imavov.
They've had number 2 ranked Dustin Poirier against number 14 or 13 ranked Benoit Saint Denis. So the prestige of rankings is sort of out the window at this point.
Sure, but even Dustin said he wouldn't fight those guys, and then he did.
Yeah, and then he did.
I personally would like to see him fight Hermanson. That's my pick.
Sure, that's fun. Although I will say that he impressed me so much against Joe Pyfer that I'd actually want to give him a shot against somebody decent. Not feed him another prospect.
Sure.
I'd see what he could do against someone like just above or just below him to see if he can hang. Because he really impressed me on the feet against.
I'd actually like to pull up the middleweight rankings here.
Sure. Now I got rankingmma.com and I got the UFC rankings site. If you want to turn to mine.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, give me a second. I'm gonna.
Oh wait. Oh no, I'll just pull it. Oh, I'll just pull it up on my phone.
Okay. Let me share these
live show.
We'll be right back after these messages. So,
middleweight rankings. We got. Oh, that's what I was gonna say. Is his last win? He calls out Dricus du Plessis, which is just a terrible.
Good old Dricus. Yeah, not bad.
So he did great on the mic this time, actually having an opponent in mind that is reasonable. So 15, Chris Curtis, 14, Kaio, and Paul Craig was 13. This is the UFC rankings, by the way. Paul Craig was 13, Anthony Hernandez 12, 11 Hamzat, 10 Hermanson, 9 Roman Dolidze, 8 Nasruddin, 7 Paulo Costa, 6 Brendan Allen, 5 Marvin Vettori, 4 Cannonier, 3 Robert Whitaker, 2 Israel Adesanya, and 1 Sean Strickland. So I think that Vettori needs to fight Brendan Allen. That's the fight that was booked. We were supposed to get that fight. Nasruddin is going to fight Cannonier after, I believe, Anthony Hernandez. No. Anthony Hernandez was supposed to fight Roman Dolidze. Why don't we give him Roman Dolidze on that card that they were booked to fight? Anthony Hernandez was booked to fight him. I don't think he took any damage in this fight. He dog walked Paul Craig. So I think that's the one.
Yeah.
Give him Roman Dolidze.
It wouldn't be too big a jump either, and I think it'd be a fair competition between two grapplers. So
yeah,
and he'd probably knock him out. I'd say he'd probably knock him out.
I'm pretty high on Roman Dolidze. I think he's fought really boring fights as of late, and giving him Apex main events is just insane.
Yeah,
but yeah, spent a lot of time on that one, but
any Apex main event isn't great with me.
We move on
to the main card.
Michelle motherfucking P. Dude. I mean, he just annihilates poor Ihor Poteria.
Yeah, Ukraine lost.
Not even a minute into the first round. I mean, oh my goodness.
He runs this division.
I mean, you can't even really show your face around the town after a loss like that. I think Ihor might want to move to Moldova.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's
attack. He can become the aggressor.
That's a pretty geopolitical joke there.
But,
yeah, move to Moldova. He'll do good there. And probably I don't know why this guy is in the UFC at this point.
I don't know why he was in the UFC 3 fights ago, much less now.
As we all know, Michelle does a backflip onto his face and knees him, which is 100% illegal, but it was awesome. So
it builds character. It builds character.
It was awesome. And then he chokes him out. The referee did him dirty too, because when he went in to break up the submission, and again, I'm not a referee. You got to give these guys a pass, in some respects. But
yeah,
he goes to break up the submission, and fucking Ihor just falls on his back, hits his head, dude. Oh my gosh, how brutal! How fucking just terribly brutal is that, man? I had Pereira to get it done via KO. He almost does, but in hindsight, the club and sub was probably the play.
Yeah, he'd done it to Mikhail Oleksiejczuk.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I picked him in the first round because he's just been running through everybody. I just had the opinion that since he subbed his last opponent, he'll get a KO this time. He had a KO this time, he'll get a sub the next time. Because sometimes you don't have all the fighters finishing their fights the exact same way, especially when they're strikers and they're grapplers. So I thought he'd treat him like Petrosky and just hit him with a big left hand that would just immediately put him out. But he just decided to play with his food like a lion who had just found a mouse sleeping next to his tail. He dropped him immediately. He did the classic Michelle Pereira flip. I said this to Idaho. I texted him this when we were going back and forth about the illegal knee. That was the first image I ever saw of Michelle Pereira. It wasn't a fight. It wasn't on a card. It was just a video that showed him 7 feet in the air, backflipping onto his opponent. So I popped. Bless you. I popped big time when I saw him do that again. I was so happy that I got to see it live. Unfortunately, there are times that he actually connects with that kick and it doesn't hit the chest, or it hits the head. It did this time. He's so lucky that the judges saw that it hit the chest first before it hit the head. But they're in Brazil.
He kind of got a shin to the head.
Yeah, exactly. It's got to be the foot. So they gave him a pass because he's Brazilian, because they're nationalist in a Brazilian card, and it's geopolitical, and the UFC wants every single one of their Brazilian fighters on this card to win their fight in Brazil. That's why they put a bunch of uneven matchups in with these Brazilian fighters. And so Michelle Pereira did exactly what they wanted him to do. I don't know how he would have fared against that Russian fighter he was supposed to fight on this card.
Mahmoud Muradov, who actually got cut after getting injured, which is kind of a slap in the face.
That's pretty messed up to me. There are UFC contenders that have John Jones, who have been out longer for more or less, including drugs. But
pills.
Poor Russian guy, and now poor Ukrainian guy. as well. They're both suffering now. And Michel, he did get an illegal knee. Let's just call it as it is. They were in Brazil, so he got it. But he decided to finish the fight via submission, which is again super impressive. And he got a guillotine to do it. So maybe guillotines are back. Michel Pereira and Anthony Smith, they're leading the charge. They're making this a scary submission again. So good for those guys. I should have called it submission, but I just thought we get some variety. Yeah, but fantastic work again from Michel Pereira. This guy's on a freaking roll. People are going to remember the name Michel Pereira, unlike the one-eyed troll under the bridge.
Yeah, who's that guy? I can't remember his name.
I think his name's Bilal Hassan. He's a really good I think he'll go really far. I like the kid's YouTube.
So Michel wasn't as in the rankings at middleweight. I'm sure he'll get a ranking now. I don't know why I don't want to give him as highly ranked of a guy that I want to give Caio. But I mean, why can't we do the Caio versus Michel fight? That'd be pretty cool, right?
Yeah, it'd be pretty exciting, and a Brazilian would lose. I can't believe it. Not in Brazil. The fans will leave if
maybe give him Ikram, maybe give him Joe Pyfer. Those guys are all lower than him in the rankings on Tapology because the UFC does not have him ranked. But maybe Muniz. I don't know. Whatever the fuck fight they book him in, I am here for it, man. Michel is must-see TV.
Yes.
And I mean, what a great win, and just kind of clowned Ihor, even though we may be rating him a little too high. I thought the Mikhail Oleksiejczyk fight was a better win. Obviously, Ihor came in on short notice, but
I mean, I picked Mikhail for the underdog win.
Same
for the fight, yeah.
So and that is a bad thing to do.
Yeah. Also, he's everything that Israel Adesanya wants to be in terms of his dance routine. He's got the break dancing on lock.
Yeah, I was wondering on the over-under on amount of gyrations that Michel would do after his fight. And surprisingly, he didn't do any.
Well, I'm glad you didn't make the bet in that case. You would have burnt money.
Yeah.
But good for Michel, man.
We move up the card. Anthony Smith gets a guillotine choke. The first of his career, mind you.
He's improving every fight.
2 minutes into the first round. I was going to place a bet on this fight. It's going to be $10. I would have won $45. I ended up not making any bets. I'm gonna get into making some bets though, because I was gonna bet on Smith to get it done, and but obviously I picked him to lose. Thought that Petrino would knock him out
in the third round.
In hindsight,
on paper,
yeah, man. I mean, I'll let you take the reins, man, because wow. I mean, just wow. Like we there's a good friend of mine. Sorry, I know I said I'd let you take the reins, and then I just go on a tangent.
Keep going, Santa. Keep going, Santa.
There's a friend of mine. Shout out to Nick the Dane.
Shout out to the puppy.
Oh wow, Kiwi, you put a bet on him, huh? That's smart. Smart man.
You're smart.
A good friend of mine, a good friend of mine, Nick, who I've gone to numerous fight shows with. He's from Omaha, and I've been cooking him. I'm like, fuck you, Smith's wash. He's a clown. During the fight, I was like, oh man, you can see like his CTE swollen brain popping through his head, and I actually think it was Kiwi that said, no, that's just air. After the fight, Nick went on a tirade, and I let him. His guy from Omaha got it done, an impressive submission win. It was really the inexperience of Vitor and just kind of the meat-headedness of him that lost him this fight. Goes in for a clinch, gets subbed, goes in for a clinch, and then he goes in for a slam as Smith is locking up the ghillie, and gets his first guillotine win of his career. Good for him, man. As much as shit as I talk about him, and I think he's an airhead, and I don't like Anthony Smith at this point. Great win for him. Great win for him. I'm eating some crow. Right now.
How does it taste?
Not good. The beef doesn't taste good.
Correct. Well, my mom cooks crow a little bit better. She does it well done. So Next time you eat crow, you might want to go to my mama's place. She'll cook you up some good crow.
Yeah, that's a pretty far drive to eat some crow, but
I know. Or you can find it. You could find it on the road if you like it raw. It's pretty good. So
I do like it raw.
It's bloody raw,
like ODB.
So on paper, I thought that Vitor Petrino would win this fight. On paper, he goes to a decision. I had less faith in him than you did, I think, just because I felt that when Vitor Petrino gets into a fight with someone he can't really figure out on the feet, he starts to panic and goes into autopilot.
Smother grappling.
And then smother him. And if we're lucky, if we're good little boys who have been kind, we won't get Cole in our stocking, and we'll get Vitor Petrino getting a sub, which is not what I wanted. I wanted to finish, and I didn't want this finish, but hey, got a finish, and I was entertained by it. Anthony Smith didn't look good in any of this fight until he snatched the guillotine, and it was not his fault that he got the win. It was the fault of Vitor Petrino entirely, pretty much. Because if this were any other high-level light heavyweight fighter, he would have gotten his head out when Smith snatched it and went for the double leg, and he probably would have gotten it. If he had more, if this was a more experienced fighter, he would have easily found a way out of that sub attempt. But instead, he decided to do some showboating in front of his Brazilian crowd. And actually, this was sort of satisfying because every single Brazilian fighter was winning on the card, and some of them winning in bullshit fashion. And so it was actually nice for the American to put out a Brazilian prospect and show him that there were levels to this shit. And that level included one singular guillotine attempt that got a 1 in 100 chance of success, and it got pulled off. Petrino, I think,
actually a 4.5-1 chance according to the odd makers.
Well, fantastic. But hey, your boy cashed, so obviously there was a chance there.
Actually, Petrino, I think the submission in the first round was plus 1,200.
Well, looks like some guy that I know is making bank, so maybe I'll grab a little bit of that cash while he's not looking, while he's sleeping. I think that Petrino will be back. I think against a lesser opponent, he's gonna view this as a learning experience, sort of like Almeida's gonna view that Blades loss as a learning experience. I pray to God he doesn't learn anything from that loss and he keeps shooting crap takedowns. But I think Petrino has more potential than Almeida does in his little pinky. And hopefully he can put some guys out and sub them.
I disagree with that, but
Almeida has
I think it's a little early.
Almeida has potential in terms of crotch and sniff, but he doesn't have potential in terms of I'm well-rounded. And I think
Almeida should go back down to light heavyweight, personally.
Yeah, he should. Not for our sakes, for his sake, so that he can be a champion. Yeah. But Petrino will recover. For Smith, he has recovered. And you know what? They're going to give him a big guy up the rankings. And Smith is back. And eventually he's going to be fighting Alex Pereira for the UFC light heavyweight title. He slept on him when he was announced during the fight, but on paper, he just woke Alex Pereira up with that guillotine. And now on paper, he woke him up. And now it's the fight of the century. Except it'll be in Brazil, and all the fans will have left before that time. So
the thrill in Brazil.
The thriller in Brazil, brother.
There you go.
It'll be on the same level as Pantoja versus Erceg. And
what do you want to see next for Anthony Smith?
Oh, God, I honestly don't want to see him at all. I don't want to see that much. But unfortunately, I do have to see him. So let me take a little look at my handy-dandy UFC light heavyweight rankings. I think he has to fight someone in the top 15 at this point. Unfortunately, he's still too high up for that not to happen. Maybe give him Johnny Walker or Jan Blachowicz.
Yeah, what happened to Jan Blachowicz?
He's disappeared. He's off the map. I think he's in Siberia right now.
He should go to KSW. So his teammate is Dustin Jacoby, who is booked to fight Dominic Reyes on the Louisville card, I believe. Finally,
Jacoby gets given a pretty easy win.
I think if Reyes wins that fight,
on paper,
give Reyes Smith. I think the battle of who is the rightful light heavyweight champion? Is it Dominic Reyes? Is it Anthony Smith? Because he should have took that knee
Yeah.
win. And if not, let's just sacrifice him to Bogdan Guskov and get
Sure.
the
Yes, sir.
clone matchup. You know,
He was a Bogdan was a big time hater of Smith versus Span, so he wanted to take them both out for wasting 15 minutes of his time. And he's unhappy that his father abandoned him. So now he's ready to finally get revenge and show Pops that he is the superior Smith of the family.
Okay, so they're not clones. They're
they're
brothers.
family. They're family, and that's why the nose is a little bit bigger for Goosecock, because it runs in the genes and it gets exaggerated a little bit. So he's gonna take out his deadbeat dad.
Well, definitely we'll have to see. Begrudgingly, we'll have to see more of Anthony Smith.
Hey, it made for some good memes, and I was laughing afterwards. So
same,
pretty entertaining.
We move on. Jose, the King of Rio, returns to get his 22nd win of his career. The 32nd win of his career. Against Jonathan Martinez. I thought Jose. Oh, the Canelo fight started as soon as this fight started, so I was watching that pretty intensely.
Not at all.
Though I thought that the fight played out basically exactly how I thought. Though I didn't expect Jose to hurt Jonathan Martinez as much as he did.
Still got power
in the later half of the rounds. He did hurt Jonathan Martinez in the third, and then kind of just like threw him ass over head down to the floor, and just kind of grinded him out to get the decision win.
He Peter yawned his way to victory.
I picked him to go to decision. For as much as Aldo looked good, I thought that Martinez looked pretty bad. The way you beat Jose Aldo is you out volume him because he has slowed down in his career, and Jonathan Martinez did the opposite, and he just kind of. What's that?
He was slower.
Right? Yeah. He played into Jose's game and just kind of waited for Jose. I don't know what the game plan was exactly. I did know that his Mark Montoya of Factory X, which I believe is his gym, was yelling at him the entire fight to pick it up, and it cost him the fight.
Instead of picking it up, he dropped it.
What did you think?
I am genuinely impressed by Jose Aldo. It's like he never lost a step. Incredible work. He got the better of the freaking leg kicks, as I said, and he was better in the boxing, which I said he was going to be. He took to MMA like a fish to water again, and one of his best performances as of late. Am I wrong for arguing that? Because he like stumbled him at multiple points, and then just outclassed him on standing and on the feet. Obviously, a knockout is more impressive, like on Stevens, but
I thought that the Chito Vera win was the most impressive. I thought Jose looked, but that is pretty. That was a few years ago now at this point. But yeah,
aged a little like milk with the
certainly looked good. Certainly looked good. I do think that his body looks pretty melted from steroids.
It does.
That's just me, but.
Hey, as long as they're in Brazil, keep giving them to them. As long as we can get some exciting fights like this one and some like vintage performances from Aldo. I think that he still has power in his fists. He has great technique. He was just beating him up like Max Holloway did Justin Gaethje. And like there wasn't a point where I was like, oh no, Aldo's in trouble, or ooh, Martinez clipped him with that. Like there was no point where I was scared for. I mean, obviously I was scared for him before the fight. But as soon as the fight started and I saw him push the pace, I was like, this is going to be an enjoyable 15 minutes. I think I'm just going to lean back and relax and enjoy the circus. And
Kiwi, I know you bet on Aldo, man. I know you bet on Aldo and you made some money, man. So
he's making a bunch of money from these picks.
What do you want to see Jose Aldo do next? Do you want to see him fight Dominic Cruz? Do you want to see him go straight to O'Malley? Do you want to see him go to PFL, do some boxing, or maybe go to one? Because this is the last fight on his contract.
right now he's in the position of Max Holloway, where now he's got all the options. Everybody expected him to lose, and then he put on a masterclass performance, and all of a sudden he's the hottest property in the sport. And now people aren't talking about the Max Holloway KO win anymore. It's not on people's minds. I said that it would last 2 to 3 weeks in terms of popularity, and it has, which is a shame because it's one of the all-time great finishes. I hope people remember. But I think he's got a lot of options right now. A few people have said, give him Corey. Since he beat a guy in the top 5, he beat a guy in the top 10. He's still, he has the crown on his head. He's not the king now, but he is a former king. And I think he deserves to be treated like it and get a jump up the rankings from this because of the amount of opponents that he's beaten. And I'm not as interested in the Dominic Cruz fight as I was before. Because I think Aldo would kick the crap out of Cruz at this point, just with how good he's looked. And Dominic Cruz, I don't think he's trained that much in the meantime. He's had an injury, and Dominic Cruz does not like those injuries. I'd say screw Umar, give him Corey. Let it be between Jose Aldo and Corey, number 1 contender fight. The champion's back, and now he has to prove himself. And it would be a great back and forth fight. I don't think, maybe Corey might try to do the same performance he did in his last one and try to just hold him down. I really hope he doesn't stick to his Sandman moniker and start putting people to sleep like a, NyQuil, but he might try. Although he might realize that this is like a 5-round great fight with Aldo and say, okay, fuck it. I'm becoming the Corey of old, and we're going back and forth for this one. Maybe he'll be a man and try to actually put on an entertaining performance for once. We'll see. But that on paper, said Anthony Smith, this Sandhagen versus Aldo looks like a fun prospect of a matchup, and I think it makes sense for both guys. And I don't want to see Umar jump up the rankings after he has not fought one ranked opponent yet, and he's number 10. So screw them, screw their geopolitical agenda with having to go back to the blood money Saudi Arabia for all their cards, trying to get a bunch of champions from Dagestan. Give it to a guy who actually deserves it, in the legend Jose Aldo, which everybody wants to see. Certainly
I think it's whatever Jose wants.
Yeah.
Sure. I think Sandhagen would love to fight Aldo. Honestly, like if they threw in Aldo, like if Merab got hurt or something, and then they threw in Aldo in a title shot, I think it would boost Sean O'Malley's stock, and I think Sean O'Malley runs him over personally.
Yeah, that's why I don't really want to see that fight.
I would like to see the Cruz fight. I know that Jose definitely looks like the better man, for sure. But what do you think about PFL? I think PFL throwing a lot of money at Jose would be a smart move for him. Would be good to see the legend get a payday inside the smart cage.
And have wins too. I wouldn't put him in tournaments. I'd put him
I think that the boxing is not the route to go. I think that's kind of partly why he came back, is he realized he can't make as much money inside of boxing. He didn't look great in boxing. He had a draw against Jeremy Stevens, who was completely
he knocked down MMA.
But what do you think about him going to 1?
Oh my God, that would be crazy. Like, put him in
Yeah, dude. Okay, yeah. This is what I was thinking. Put him in a kickboxing match with Broad Tang.
Yes.
I think a Muay Thai fight is a little bit too much.
Yeah, no.
But I think I mean I know it's not gonna happen, but can you imagine a kickboxing match with Aldo and fucking Rod Tang on a 1X number 2, maybe a 1Z, or Y card? I mean, come on, man. Who wouldn't want to see that?
Yeah.
Maybe I'm on an island.
Or him versus Nong O, or him versus Sexen,
or him versus DJ.
Yeah,
catch weight, dude.
in a 5-round different rules, custom rules.
Stop me when I sound insane, but I mean, come on, man. Who wouldn't want to see him in 1, man? I think the only reason to not put him in 1 is because they might give him like Lineker, which would be terrible.
Yeah.
But fuck, man. Jose Aldo in 1. It's featherweight. Bantamweight's featherweight there. It's 145. I mean, fuck it, right? I mean, but PFL, for my liking, I wouldn't necessarily want to see him in PFL. Also, they'd give him weird matches
Yeah.
that wouldn't really fit.
No elbows,
They,
Aldo.
they,
No elbows.
they might try to give him like Pitbull, which I think would be cool.
That would be fun.
Or Gabriel Braga for some reason.
Some reason. I don't
Maybe
know.
him versus Pico would be cool. But yeah, one or if he stays in the UFC, I don't want to see him sign an 8-fight contract. I think that would be super dumb. But
Mhm.
yeah,
Also,
man, Aldo can't go wrong at this point, man.
Yeah.
Only way he really goes wrong, I think, is going back into boxing.
yeah.
Unless that's what he wants to do.
Just give him the promotion that has the most potential fun matchups that pay well for him is
I
the
think it's
best route.
one, man. I think
And
it's
that's
one.
probably one. So, also, I want to say a big FU to the Brazilian crowd for once again walking out on one of their veteran Brazilian heroes. And he won, and you still left. They just have no morals whatsoever, and they just cry about everything all the time and chuck their beer bottles. And then when
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
funded,
I will say, man, Brazil is a trash crowd every time, dude.
and
They're
Colby was
never fun. They walked out on Glover. They're never fun. I don't know what happened to Brazil, man. Maybe Colby was right.
nothing happened to it. It's always been shit.
Maybe Colby was right. Brazil
Colby
is
was
dumb.
right. The filthy animals suck.
We move on to the main event. Alexandre, I call him Alex Pants. Beats Steve Erceg to retain the flyweight title. This is the first time a champion has had 2 successful title defenses in the flyweight division
Jesus
since
Christ.
Demetrius Johnson left.
He's the new goat. New goat.
No,
Totally.
man, I just think that it's awesome. I think it's awesome, man. We flyweight has been pretty much in shambles since DJ left, man. And outside of the Cejudo reign, I think it's awesome, man, and good for him.
Mm.
I don't know if his estranged father was in the crowd or not, but
Strange father's ever coming back.
overall, man, I think he, just as I said, he's a relentless guy. He puts forward pressure on you the whole time. I think what cost Steve Erceg the decision in many people's eyes, including most of the media members, was that just ill-timed takedown in the 5th round. I think it was shades of Chris Weidman's spinning back kick against Luke Rockhold, shades of Chael Sonnen's spinning back fist in the second match against Anderson Silva.
And in modern times, it's Drew Dober versus Renato Moicano trying to take him down in the 3rd round.
Yeah, and Steve Erceg, I think a big part of it too is sort of, and this is like not a big part, a small part of the loss here, is he kind of just fights sneaky. He's not doing a lot of, though he does have a crisp striking. He's not doing a lot of like, I don't know how to explain, man. He's just too cool in there, I think. And I think when you're too cool in the cage, it counts against you a little bit. I think he needs a little bit more killer.
A
A little more
shots.
Yeah, a little more aggressiveness, really. And
like Sean Strickland against DDP.
yeah, and so there's a guy, I know nobody cares about this, but there's a guy in skateboarding, Kevin Kowalski.
Mm-hmm. Mike was
and
out.
they always rob this guy.
Mm-hmm.
He hits every wall. He does like every sort of trick. He's so consistent. The problem is he's too. It just looks like he's not trying because he's so fluent and so good, And they always like, he'll have a perfect run. They'll be like, give him a 75 for that. And it's like, what the fuck. So I think that's what kind of hurts Steve Erceg. In the end, Pantoja gets it done, to the dismay of our friend Hank the Tank. I picked Pants to get this done via decision. And I got 655 points on Topology. Hank finishes with 680. So he wins the weekend. As far as the Skate Tank MMA podcast is concerned, but I know my boy has a lot to say about this one. Hence why he is dressed up the way he is with this tie here. He's trying to do a Steve Carell losing his job at Dunder Mifflin impression. So, give us your thoughts, man. I'm gonna let you cook.
All right. So I think that Erceg looked really good on the feet. Obviously, like you said, he wasn't getting shots that were wobbling Pantoja because nobody
Did cut him though. Did cut him bad.
Yes, he did cut him, and I'll get to that. But no one hits him with shots that completely stumble Pantoja and put him on skates. It's never happened, and it never will. He's like Marlon Vera in that he has a leather boot for a chin, and so no matter how many times he gets cracked, he just keeps pushing forward. And at first, Erceg had problems with Pantoja in terms of the grappling, but if I recall, he did reverse Pantoja in the first round when he was on his back, and he got right back up, which I think was the pattern of this fight. Was the main theme is that Erceg was the best of any of Pantoja's opponents in a championship fight at getting back up and keeping it real on the feet and not allowing himself to get cracked or have any visible damage from Pantoja. You know, I'm pretty sure Moreno got like a black eye from Pantoja during their fight. Roy Val was getting beaten up and
controlled
on the feet and controlled, but Erceg didn't allow him to do it for very long on the feet or on the ground, and he just had an answer for pretty much everything. He had great counter shots. When he was on the offense, he was piecing him up with jabs. When he got taken down, he maintained position and kept the hands on his hips and got right back up and then separated. He did everything he was supposed to do, except for one moment at the very end of the fight. Bless you. Other than round 5, he did, I think, everything that he possibly could have done and was supposed to do. Now, being a little more aggressive would have been great. I think he's going to, slowly transition into that as he has more fights in the UFC, as he probably bulks up, as he gets more trainers to keep his style aggressive. But round 2, I think he won. I think he had outstruck him in the second round, even though he was cut. He had a majority of the good striking. So he gets the second round. He got taken down by Pantoja in the first round for a majority of that round, but still got back up. It was 1-1 going into the third, and the third round is where we start to get our first controversy, where he cuts Pantoja open with an elbow, which he was able to do twice in the fight, which I think is super impressive, and also a sign that he's a good marksman and had a good game plan going into this fight in terms of how he was going to hurt Pantoja. And he cut Pantoja open, had more strikes in round 3, got taken down. And I will admit that there was enough control time and enough back takes and enough attempts that
I think 8.5 minutes or more Pantoja had by the end of the fight.
Yeah. So I would outscore Erceg in terms of the control time over the damage. So I will admit that he wins round 3, although I can understand why someone would give Erceg round 3 for damage over control in that fight. I won't side with that, but I think it's a valid opinion to have. And then going into round 4, it was like Strickland against DDP, where he was just jab, counter, jab, jab, teep kick, jab. I mean, he's just systematically picking Pantoja apart. And ironically, that was the round where he didn't cut him. He was just punching his face off and stuffing any and all takedowns that Pantoja was throwing. And it was that moment that got me really excited for the rest of the fight. I was like, oh, wow, he's turning the tide now. If he just does the same thing in round 5, he's going to win the UFC flyweight championship is what I thought to myself. This is it. Like 2-2, I've often seen like contenders grind it out in round 5 and persevere and push through. And a lot of contenders win round 5. So I was excited for him to just do the same game plan. But I think that at some point, his coaches got it into his head that he was down on points. That despite the fact that he had,
which he was, according to all the judges.
On one of the judges' scorecards. It was tied 2-2 going into round 5. But they convinced him that he needed to get a finish. and he should have just went with his heart and knew that he could be a Peter Yan and just outpoint the guy for the rest of the fight. But unfortunately, just felt like he had the need to take Pantoja down and try to submit him or beat him up on the ground, which I just think was a flaw in his game. This is why if I were to compare him to somebody, you compared him to like a skateboarder who doesn't have the most aesthetic of tricks. In terms of the fighters, I compare him to like Dominic Cruz, where he doesn't exactly beat up his opponents. He doesn't exactly hit strikes or, oh, he stumbled him there. And like Dominic Cruz, he shoots failed takedowns every now and again to keep the opponent guessing so that he can keep striking. And I just wish that Erceg had like done a fake takedown in the 5th round instead of actually tried one. I think, Pantoja would have reversed it, but he wouldn't have taken Erceg down. He would have just tried to stuff it. And I think Erceg would have kept him confused and not knowing where the next punch was going to land. If he'd have just stuck to the game plan, I think he would have been champion of the world and the best flyweight in the world. I think he is one of the great flyweights in the world right now. He is at least top 5. This fight, I think, has proved
that for sure.
If he's not in the rankings tomorrow, I will be upset. But I just think that if this had gone 3 minutes and he'd have just kept punching him, this would have been over and the narrative would have been a lot different. And I would have had a full suit over this, and I would not look messy at all. And in fact, I might have put on my best cologne and tried to do myself up nice, and maybe find the nearest plastic crown at the Party City and put on my head. But fortunately,
I think it's, I don't know. I mean, all of a sudden, this insane fandom you have for Steve Erceg is concerning to me.
Don't worry, it'll resolve itself over time. The next show will come out or something different.
I think if you're gonna go really far and rate him really high, it's probably like his GSP versus Matt Hughes moment, number 1, where he just didn't have the high level experience enough of it to get it done. I think that, since you gassed up Steve Erceg to an insane level, just gonna go ahead and just, give credit to Pantoja where it's deserved. Like I said, the first successful second title defense of Pants, and the guy is just relentless.
Yes,
this guy never stops moving forward. Guy's a fucking monster.
I think he's
Iron Chin.
He's Marlon Vera if he knew how to shoot takedowns.
I think he's better than Marlon Vera, like as far as
I don't know. His striking does not impress me.
Yeah, I know. I know, man. I know you just your hero lost, and I know it hurts, man. I know it hurts, but Pantoja's good. I'm excited to see what he does next. He did say he wants to take a little bit of time off. Also, give the guy credit, man. This is his 3rd fight in a year. How many champions are fighting 3 times in a year, man? Wins over just about everybody in the flyweight division. Where does Pantoja go next from here? And if you want to give a fight for Steve Erceg next,
I think he should fight Royval.
Who? Erceg?
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's a good fight.
Royval. I think he's
maybe even Moreno. What do you think? No.
Yeah, one or the other. I don't think Moreno. I think Moreno's going to take some time off because he knows that he's absolutely screwed up that Royval.
Play with some Legos.
He's going to be He needs to build the Death Star with his son. He's not finished yet.
Yeah.
Or just build it by himself because he likes it. But I think that Royval didn't take any damage against Moreno. Looked good.
Yeah.
Will probably be ready to fight in the next couple months. So I would give him Royval for the number 1 contender spot because I don't think that Royval's earned it quite yet. I think he needs one more fight to prove it. And I think that that's a fight that Erceg wins. He's not going to pull a nickel. He's got better counter.
Royval's my guy. Really, really like that guy a lot. But I would side with you. I think that's Erceg's fight. The only problem that I think Erceg would have is the pace that Royval puts on, sort of like Pantoja here. But as far as Pantoja, what do you want to see next?
You might be able to drop him. Pantoja, I don't know. Give him Amir Albazi or something. Give him
Man,
whatever. Give him a crap
yeah.
name that's not going to sell at all. Put it on a fucking
Give him
fight night.
somebody that's not my hero, Steve Erceg.
Yeah, exactly. Just put it on a freaking fight night, like on the same level of Grasso versus Shevchenko. Nobody wants to watch that shit. Or put it on a co-main event for
Jeez.
a pay-per-view that
I
nobody wants.
do. I'm excited for whatever Pantoja decides to do next. Just as long as it's not Royval or Moreno again, really.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm not excited.
why not give him the Amir Albazi fight? I think that Manel Cap has a fight coming up.
Don't worry,
think
he'll
he does.
cancel it. He'll cancel it last.
If he makes it to it, that's the fight that I think should happen if Manel gets a win.
I think at some point,
Though
Cap and Perez's minds have switched places because now Perez is all of a sudden a killer and a great striker and beating up everybody. And now Cap's,
everybody, he had one win after a 4-fight losing skid. What are you
I
talking
know,
about?
but he crushes everybody now on the feet.
Okay.
He taught Mokaev a lesson. All right, botched.
You know, as much as I don't blow Steve Erceg, why not give him the rematch in December? I'm sure you just would love to hear that, but
I wouldn't actually. I wouldn't.
okay.
I'd give him more experience. Give him an opponent where he can beat him through and through, so to gain his confidence.
Really, you don't want to see him in New York City on MSG at the end of the year?
Yeah,
with fair judging, get his get back, man. You don't want to see that.
I guess so, but
maybe I talked you into it a little bit, but yeah. Either way, Manel Cop probably is the guy they'll give him if he gets a win. And then if not,
that ever comes,
I guess throw Amir Albazi in. I think that eventually, I'm not gonna say now, but I think eventually Pantoja is just gonna kind of run into the same problem that DJ had. No matter who he fights. Oh, nice. He says give him the rematch in the Perth card with the crooked.
Yeah,
judges.
yeah,
Nice.
it's only fair.
I guess, man. Again, this wasn't a robbery, but definitely 4-1 is wide. But again, I think that Pantoja will eventually run into the same problem that DJ had because these flyweights always tend to fight each other, just because there's not a lot of them.
Yeah,
but
he might legit kill his division.
Sure. Then they'll have to send Sean O'Malley down there to kill it.
Yeah,
and he'll have a terrible weight cut.
Bravo. Yeah, have him pull a TJ, and then pop out his shoulder.
Overall, the card was good.
I'd give it a good.
The main card was good. This would have been a great fight night. But yeah, I think this is probably going to be the lowest selling pay-per-view in recent UFC history.
They don't give the numbers out, so I guess we'll never know.
Yeah, but they get that guaranteed money from ESPN. So, we're quickly going to go through the boxing matches. Did you watch any of these fights?
I watched some highlights.
Okay, watch some highlights. Vito Melnicki Jr. gets a decision win over Ronald Cruz.
We both got this one right.
Yeah, I picked KO, and I believe Tank did as well. In hindsight, I did say that Xander Zayas, another prospect, went to decision with Ronald Cruz, but the 21-year-old Melnicki looks good. He drops Ronald Cruz at a certain point in the fight. Good win for him. Stanionis defends the WBA regular welterweight title.
Yeah, he's right
against Gabriel Mastre. They had a split decision.
Yeah,
which it says is unanimous on Tapology. It was a split, which is really weird. The problem with Stanionis is he's rusty. He took 2 years off, and he fought like he had mad ring rust in there. Yikes. And he's just really bored. I mean,
how could you say that about boxing?
He's very controlled and good, but yeah, just not a lot going on there, especially at welterweight. The likes of Terrence Crawford, Errol Spence, Keith Thurman, just looked pedestrian.
How could you say anything about boxing is boring, Idaho Skatesman? It doesn't have grappling. It's got to be so much cooler, you guys, and fun.
We then had Brandon Figueroa going against Jesse Magdaleno. This was a great. It was a little bit slow. About 3 rounds in, about the 4th round, they started picking it up. Brandon Figueroa was trying to corner Jesse Magdaleno. Magdaleno was moving around a lot, moving really well. And then finally, about the 4th, 5th round, Figueroa lured him into Figueroa's type of fight. And again, I said it on the preview show. Figueroa likes to lock horns with his opponent and just go blow for blow, man. And he finally had walked down Magdaleno, and he was just cooking him up against the ropes. As the 9th round comes to a close, 2 minutes and 59 seconds is what the official ruling was. He hits him with a. Go ahead.
Sort of cool that the guy who won is a mix of Brandon Moreno and Davison Figueiredo.
I think he looks like a little tiny Ryan Garcia, but
yeah, nice.
With a little more the heartbreaker lands a vicious body shot to end the fight and retain the interim WBC featherweight title.
Yeah,
which is just crazy.
Tony title.
Great win for Figueroa, man. I like this guy a lot. He had a grueling match with Stephen Fulton, former Naoya Inoue victim. So yeah, I'm not sure what having him fight Inoue probably isn't the right pick, but Magdaleno lost to Ray Ford, who is now one of the champs in that division. Not an interim champ, actually holds the actual WBC featherweight title. So that I think that's the only match to make.
Yeah. I hope that Fulton had a good hotline number to call after that Inoue fight. I hope he got the help that he needed.
Yeah, his team came out and said that they poisoned him with the Japanese food Pride style, which is hilarious. We then had Mario Barrios fighting Fabian Maidana. I think that they were given the word to let the fans pour into the arena, get all drunk, because this fight was terrible, really terrible. Not much to say about it. Mario Barrios retains the interim WBC welterweight title, which is again hilarious. Trinket belt, just for the sanctioning bodies to rip the fighters off. Just
at least it's shiny. It's pretty and shiny.
Sure, yeah.
It's made of real metal. It must be made of real metal.
And anyway, it's weird that it's an interim title. I guess they haven't officially stripped Terrence Crawford of all the belts, so maybe that's why. Yeah, terrible fight. They said, "Hey guys, let's drag this one out because."
Here's the thing, you guys. This is gonna be a boring affair full of degenerates, you guys. Bunch of crotch sniffing Dagestanis, you guys.
Yeah, I could tell Hank did not watch any of this card.
Yeah, but I tried.
The boxing casual tank strikes again. We then had Canelo.
I got 2 of my fights right on the last boxing card. How dare you call me a casual? And I watched
this one. And you did an immense amount of research for that last card.
Yeah, too much research.
We then had Canelo Alvarez retaining the undisputed super middleweight title against Jaime Mungia. Scoring this fight live, I ruled this fight a draw. I did have a 10-10 round in there, which is just lazy judging on my part. Not something that any judge would do. But again, I had been watching fights for just about 8 hours at this point. Yeah, man, I scored it a draw. Only one judge gave it one more round Canelo, which I thought was probably the correct decision. The other, I think one judge had it 118 to 110, which is crazy. Canelo does drop Jaime Mungia in, I think, the 5th round for the first knockdown of Jaime Mungia's career. And
that was impressive.
Yeah, and that's when I was like, oh, my 6th round prediction of Canelo getting a knockout is going to come true. Wow. Ultimately, Jaime Mungia did what you should do against Canelo, and he outpaced him. He just threw more jabs, had a little bit more flurries, but ultimately it was the power boxing of Canelo. He'd walk down Canelo, throw the big power shots. He landed 40 or more % of his power shots. Jaime Mungia's really big downfall in this fight was not targeting the body of Canelo enough.
Mm-hmm.
Or well, I guess that's not true. He was headhunting most of the fight. I think Canelo obviously was going to get the decision no matter what. But
Yikes.
um, I mean, this is
Impressive that-
one of
impressive.
the tougher tests that Canelo's had of recent memory, depending on how you look at it. I mean, he beat a guy that was 44-0, undefeated fighter. So he moves on, he moves up. I think he's going to get Berlanga next. He probably should fight Benavidez next. But again, I'll just speak my piece on that fight
Wait,
again. If Canelo
summarize.
doesn't if
Summarize.
Canelo doesn't want to fight a guy who has failed drug tests, lost his belt to cocaine on the scale, got it back, then he missed weight and lost his belt on the scale at
Free
168.
country. It's a free country.
I can understand. I can understand, but I do think that he should fight Benavidez, and he won't. So everyone's going to be pissed off when he gets booked against Berlanga next. And good for Benavidez for moving up to 175 and fighting for an interim or gold or bronze or
Whatever
maybe
the hell it is.
the regional continental
Regular.
bridger weight belt or whatever. Yeah,
So
whatever trinket belt they can come
1
up
year
with.
ago.
I like Canelo.
Oh,
I'm
really?
glad to see him get it done. And yeah, good for him for finally fighting a high level Mexican in his championship reign.
Nice.
Did you watch any of this fight? What did you think about it?
I watched Alvarez's uppercut that put Mungia down. That was impressive. He always finds the knockdown shot at some point in the fight. So in some ways, this was vintage Alvarez. But Mungia was piecing him up and finding the chin of Alvarez. Like you said, he didn't go to the body, which was a big mistake. So he kept Alvarez in the fight. And over time, Alvarez just keeps outpointing him here and outpointing him there and being a better marksman. And I think at one point Alvarez gave him mercy because he was beating up Mungia like around the end of the fight and then chose to clinch with him at some point instead of continuing to pour on the
A
aggression.
lot of people said that, and not just in the chat, but on Twitter, other high level boxers said that Canelo carried him the later half of the fight. So yeah, I don't think that that's an incorrect analysis.
Yeah. So maybe he was tired or he was trying to just do more clinching.
Who knows?
Yeah. But either way, they gave it to him, which is no surprise. At least he got a knockdown, so that was fun at some point.
Yeah, and I mean, again, I scored it a draw, giving a 10-10 round in there. There were some close rounds, but Mungia never really phased Canelo, and I think that's really the story of the fight. Never did anything to Canelo that made him go, "Oh shit." He did have some good combos, but that's Canelo, man. He has a hell of a chin. He's gonna just he's kind of like Pantoja in that he's just a monster. He's just gonna keep walking you down mercilessly and just throwing power shots at you, which is gonna win him most of his fights. So
yeah, and
again,
and Canelo can get a knockdown, which is a big difference.
Yeah, totally in a boxing match. Again, I scored it a draw, but it is what it is.
Boxing. You think UFC judging's bad? We'll look over the other side of the pond, and you'll see a whole other animal. So be happy to avoid the minor leagues if you can. Just watch the big ones and then tune into MMA.
Yeah, I've been becoming more of a fan of boxing than MMA.
Yeah.
I think
Also,
MMA.
You go ahead.
I think MMA in North America or UFC rule set specifically is kind of trash at this point, especially with the influx of like regional fighters getting the call up off of split decision wins on the Contender Series.
I think that Isha's going to join the chat now that you've mentioned the UFC rule set.
Yeah, man. I mean, but he's correct, man. The UFC rule set sucks. Fight nights are becoming a drag to sit through.
They are. Oh,
so
I mean, the cards always surprise us in some way or another. Like, it's actually been a surprising amount of fight nights where I'm like, well, I was entertained from it. It kept moving along. Like I didn't want to
I come away different, man. I come away going, geez, why did I sit through that? And I tend to actually like lower level boxing more and more as my combat sports fandom evolves.
I see.
Also kickboxing. Kickboxing is fucking awesome.
Yeah, that goes well.
So yeah, man, I kind of disagree with that take. I think that boxing is becoming more and more interesting, but I will agree with you that the judging in boxing is a lot
And
more
it's not going to
one-sided.
change. Not going to change.
Yeah.
Just like their terms for the champions that they set for their own fights.
But yeah, Japanese MMA on the other hand, and specifically Japanese because let's face it, man, one is falling off. I think they had around 30 MMA fights last year. Can you believe that?
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
That division's dying before flyweight is.
Yeah, the whole one championship MMA is dying. They should just become a Muay Thai promotion. But
just a money tree being burnt down.
There is good fights in MMA in one, but again, they're just not having enough of them. I think if you're
they just need to focus on the kickboxing and the Muay Thai.
If you're gonna tune into totally. If you're gonna tune into MMA, the best bang for your buck and time, depending on how late you have to stay up, is Ryzen for sure, man.
Yeah.
Ryzen's got it on lock.
How is Ryzen's economy doing? Is it like KSW where, it has enough shows and it has enough people in the arena that it can just keep on going? Or is it just sort of on a path? Because it's weird with like the English translation of the shows.
Yeah, we had talked about that on the last Ryzen card. Yeah, the English commentary is terrible. The production is certainly much better than the UFC because they actually put effort into things. Right. I can't understand a word they're saying in the promos, but I love them.
Yeah. It's got the pride entrances.
But yeah, certainly there is things they could fix. I think that Saki Kabara has said some. I'm the wrong guy to talk to about that. I better not put my foot in my mouth. But I think
the junkie.
I think they're doing better than one financially, as far as debt is concerned. Yeah.
So, I mean, let's just keep them around, man. Let's hope for their success and that we keep getting alternatives to MMA and that the promoters don't burn money and keep a loyal fan base so that when we lose our minds inevitably with the UFC and their shit booking once again, we will have something else to turn to.
Yeah.
We've got to pray that Dana, when he stops cooking, somebody else is taking over the kitchen.
Yeah. Well, anything else to say, my friend, as we hit the 2-hour mark of this glorious podcast? Did we lose him? Or is his lips sealed?
No.
I guess he didn't have anything to say.
Yes, the positive thing to say is that I did have something to say. The computer had something to say before me, but now I'm taking over the courtroom, and I'm going to say that I cannot wait for the next fight night in St. Louis. I'm excited. Despite the horrible, atrocious, trash main event, if you look at the rest of the card, it's actually got pretty stacked matchups from top to bottom. So I think I'm going to be thoroughly entertained.
Yeah, and it's certainly a much more difficult card to pick. I think this, again, I said it earlier, this is like the easiest card I've ever picked.
Me too.
So yeah, it's definitely a much harder card to pick. It's going to be more competitive on paper.
Yeah.
It's never. But yeah, I mean, I'm not excited as much as my MMA hardcore friend here, Hank the Tank, is. But will I be tuning in? Yes, I will be.
Yeah. So, and I will too. And hopefully we get a few surprise contenders for fight of the year.
I think Naoya Inoue is gonna fight here in just a few hours, man. So I'm gonna be catching the highlights of that. I refuse to watch that. Mostly because I have work tomorrow. Yeah. If I didn't, I would watch it. But
I get too little sleep as it is, so I'm catching some Z's. Yeah.
Yeah. I'll be watching it afterwards. We'll give you a breakdown of it. We'll preview the fights of next weekend for you, probably Friday sometime. Mm-hmm. So be on the lookout for that. Yeah. And fucking thank you guys so much for just fucking rocking with us, hanging out with us on a Sunday night. Catch Rush City tomorrow around 5 p.m., 7 p.m. Eastern time.
With the better J. More fun one.
JL always catching strays. All right, guys. Well, that's it from us. We gave you 2 hours of our lives. Give us a like. Give us a like. Subscribe to the channel. And we're out of here.
Yep. You have
See you later.